Start with the big review of the week, which might be the most anticipated most anticipated movie of the year for a lot of the layman movie watchers, and Avatar: The Way of Water. So, Avatar: The Way of Water. That's
what it's called.
It is the Avatar: The Way of Water. Are you sure?
Okay. I don't know. I wrote something else. I was kind of hoping you'd read it, but never mind. That's fine.
You know, Cam, you're the funny guy of the crew, so I'll let you say. You know what you say right now? What's it called?
I just wanted you to say.
I just read it now.
It's Avatar. Hey, I'm watering over here.
Jake Sully and Neytiri have formed a family and are doing everything to stay together. However, they must leave their home and explore the regions of Pandora when an ancient threat resurfaces. Jake must fight a difficult war against the humans. The cast is Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, and Cate Blanchett, as well as others. Cam, it is Zoe Saldana. It's not Zoe Saldana. Yeah. It has an Enye, that's how it's pronounced. And I also watched a video where she's like, yeah, everyone says my name wrong, but that's just what comes when you're a person of color.
I appreciate you letting me know then.
Yeah.
I like it.
The only reason I thought that is because I saw her name spelled in the cast list and had the Enye, and I was like, it can't be Zoe Saldana, just based on what I know of Spanish. And then I looked at the video, and she's like, yeah, everyone says my name wrong, but that's just kind of what you have to expect in Hollywood. So I was like, okay, I'll say it right. Yeah, so let's just go right into our reviews. So what I was thinking we do here is just kind of give our, we'll go around the room and just give like our headline, like this is my overall key takeaways of it and what my score is, real quick to the point, and then after that we'll just say like, okay, spoilers are going to start here. So we'll start off with Seth. Just give your kind of headline, what your overall quick thoughts were, and your overall score out of 5 stars, or however you want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I was like not like a skeptic, but I was. I didn't really know what to think about this because I didn't love the first one, but I really enjoyed it. So I give it a 4 out of 5. The script's not perfect. Again, I have similar issues with this one than I did with the first, but I think this does a lot better in terms of being that enthralling sort of visual spectacle that I can kind of just. The world building was great, and I actually enjoyed a lot more. I'll go into this in spoilers, but I enjoyed some of it more than what apparently most people did as well. I do think it distinguishes itself from the first. I do think there is a difference, but then again, the dialogue is still not great. It still follows issues. But I had a really good time with it. I think the final act was really good. I think some of the action scenes were really good. I was not completely emotionally invested into the characters. I think it's quite hard to do in this sort of setting, and I don't think that's James Cameron's really strong suit. His strong suit is providing these visual spectacles that are just incredibly enjoyable. The world building is great, but I don't know. I didn't completely invest, but I think I probably did a little bit more than the last one. I mean, just to sort of give you the margin, I give the Avatar a 3 out of 5. I give this one a 4 out of 5. So I enjoyed it a significant amount more, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. And I actually disagree with Cameron here as well. I watched this in 3D, and I really liked it. I really liked it in 3D, honestly. I will say though, first 5 minutes I got into the screening, the 3D projector broke. So it was just frozen for 10 minutes.
Are your theaters? Are you going to a theater like outside of a barn? I feel like you have the worst theater experiences.
No,
they're always breaking.
You got stuck with the Woman King too, didn't you?
Yeah,
it's only twice. I think we need to say
2 more times than I've ever had.
Yeah, that's 2 more times.
The cinema I go to, I think it's just unlocked because it's like the biggest, or at least one of 2 biggest ones in the UK, and they're really good, like in terms of seats, screens, and stuff. But I'm having issues.
Yeah, and Cam, your Glass Onions showing got canceled. What do you mean you've never had theater issues?
Fuck you, Cam.
To be fair, I got my money back and got free tickets. So.
Oh no, I got money back and free food and snacks as well.
All right, free food and free tickets probably are about. Actually, free food's way more expensive. Let's be honest, but good for you. Good for you.
I've never had an issue because New York is superior.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I'm not. But can I? Okay, so Seth, I just want it to be known, like I made this video. I didn't have a problem with this movie being in 3D, but I'm never going to see a movie in 3D.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were meaning. Like I didn't think you cared about what the movie was.
It's not 3D this movie's problem. It's 3D in general. It sucks, man. You sit there and you have these glasses on that are uncomfortable. And I didn't even think about this because I don't wear glasses, but a lot of people wear glasses and they got to double glass it up. That sucks. These are not.
I don't wear glasses. Neither do you.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying, hey, respect other people. Respect the non-seeing. The not as well seeing, I guess. But
I could say you just disrespected them more than anyone.
Not blind, just not as well seeing. But Yeah, you got to wear double glasses. You got to every 10 minutes, I swear to God, I have to take my glasses off, and then I'm watching a blurry screen just to like re-home base my brain, man. It's too much, and I don't like 3D. You get a headache if you don't do that. Like, I know lots of people that get headaches. I don't like 3D, and I had a lot of people agree with me, so I am feeling justified.
All right, but the movie.
No, sorry, on the actual movie.
Whenever I get the clip of that little rant, I'm gonna put it over the Metro Boomin soundtrack. You see that trend on TikTok?
Yes, I love that. That's awesome. But I don't know. What do you want me to say? This movie looked beautiful. If anyone thinks that's an original take, it's not. But if you also if I've not seen anyone say it doesn't look good. If there's anyone out there that thinks the visuals look bad, you're a fucking idiot. And that's
there has to be someone on TikTok because I'm trying to get popular by saying that.
What did you think of the water? Because that was
it looks truly beautiful. I think we talked about this.
They knew that though. They were a few scenes where they're like, "Here's the water.
No,
let's just leave you with that for ages."
Exactly. And I'm gonna say like
we'll dive more into that when we like break the spoilers. Let's just do
3 hours and 10 minutes. 3 hours and 10 minutes, and for me, the middle third was, "Hey, look at these visuals," and they're great. They're amazing. But damn, I got a little bored in there. And I think it's just because the middle third is an hour of this movie, or an hour and 3 minutes, whatever you want to say. It takes a while to get through. And I felt the length, not terribly, like definitely not as bad as other 3 hour movies that don't deserve it. 'Cause this is like it's an adventure. It's more an adventure than
this is more deserving.
I agree. I agree. It's more of an adventure than it is like an action movie, is what I'd say. I enjoyed, I don't know. Tyler's kind of been going off that the plot's not basic. The plot, like, it's fine. It's a good plot, and I enjoyed it. I don't think it's anything.
I've more been going off saying, since when are basic plots bad? Is what I've been saying.
Oh no.
Sorry, Cal. I think like it's just a blockbuster formula of plot. It's the same thing we get in
every movie ever.
Every like MCU films, Top Gun, same sort of thing. It's that formula, but it works.
That being said, that just like I think there's like this thing that's like there are nine plots a movie can follow. Like there are 9 plots that when you boil it down to the very broad. So I do think it has like its own, unique take to it. And I don't want to keep beating this over the head of just my non-spoiler thoughts. There was a couple things in the plot I didn't like, and we'll get into that. But George, take it away.
I mean, you guys said basically everything I feel. I do have the wildly original thought. I haven't heard anyone say it yet. The movie looked great. It looked amazing.
It's
as a hot take.
Super hot. But yeah, I'm echoing everything you guys said, especially to Cam's point where I thought the first act felt incredibly hectic and rushed because I think James Cameron wanted to have that middle third to just jerk off on screen and just show us exactly.
James Cameron.
Yeah, just showing us what he's capable of. So that first third felt incredibly rushed to me. I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't have a beautiful time at this movie. There were certain sequences that genuinely had my jaw on the floor. I echo what Seth said, and I posted a story about this. I don't think anyone expected this to win any screenplay awards, but no. I would still like something. I felt very hollow at the end of the movie because I didn't really care about as many characters as I would have liked. I didn't care, and we'll go into spoilers, but something happened to a certain character that probably should have made me cry. It didn't.
I forgot to mention that. Like a lot of people were saying that I made him cry and stuff.
It didn't because it just I wasn't as emotionally invested in these characters and the actual story as much as I wanted to be. With that said, that final act was sick. I was literally like I reclined my seat back into the upward position because I was just so locked in. I didn't want to be like lying down. And I want to end off with this. This is a movie Martin Scorsese should hate. All of these pretentious film fucking nerds on TikTok who say that like Infinity War and Endgame are just spectacle, no story, blah blah blah. Those have more stories than Avatar: The Way of the Water. Those are better movies than Avatar: The Way of Water. All you pretentious fucks on TikTok, listen to me. If you dislike superhero movies, you should dislike Avatar: The Way of the Water. It is all show, no substance.
Interesting. That's a hot take. I'd say the Avengers
I made
plots
that
have all
take
been
a couple
incredibly
weeks ago.
basic.
I don't even think that's a hot take. Like for the most
I'm
part,
not saying it's not basic. I think the Avengers plots are basic. I think they have a lot more to them, and maybe it's because they've built up for 20 years, and why I'm emotionally invested in those characters. And maybe I'm just cynical, but like I think you do care about those characters a lot more, and that's kind of what makes them.
I think that is just the build up over
separates.
time.
That could be
They've
it.
got
Tyler,
singular films. I think that Avatar and Infinity War Endgame, the same formula is there that they follow in terms of how the story works, how the acts unfold. But with the MCU, because it's been built up so many times, you've got singular films, you're going to have more of a connection to individual characters. Of course you are. Especially if you grew up with them like Cam, like George did. You're going to have more of a connection there. But I do think that it's a very, very similar formula between the two. It's a fine line.
I will say this, though. I think Infinity War and Endgame are both better than Avatar: The Way of Water.
I would have Infinity War over it. I'd probably have this over Endgame.
That's fine. Avatar: The Way of Water sits at around the 20 spot for me on the year. If it were to be nominated for Best Picture, I would not be upset because of what technical achievements it produced.
that being said, and I don't think you have to say this, and I'm sorry, I want to kick it over to Tyler because I feel like we just keep taking his early thoughts, but. This movie looks better than Endgame and Infinity War. It simply does. Like, so if anyone like clips this, if someone clips this and like they're not the same, this is way more technically done. It is. You're right. You're very much correct. But like the Endgame and Infinity War, in my opinion, and other MCU movies in general. And God damn it, I hate going back to the MCU because everyone always does. But every time you do, I'll get roped. I will get roped right into it every time. I hate doing it, but like I think they have a lot more substance. They have a lot more characters that you're invested in. Whatever.
You do it a lot for someone that hates doing it.
I try not to, man. I swear, you people rope me into it.
Before I get my quick non-spoiler thoughts, Cam and George, you both have it at 4 out of 5 stars, right?
Oh, yeah,
I don't think you mentioned that officially. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I don't think anyone.
I have it at 4 out of 5. Yeah,
Seth said 4 out of 5. So all of us gave it a 4 out of 5, and I've been tempted to move it up to 4.5 out of 5 because like I tweeted that I said like I genuinely think this is like clearly a better film than Wakanda Forever, and I'm debating if it's better than Top Gun Maverick, but I decided I'm not going to change any ratings because I'm literally going to see Avatar again like this upcoming week, so might as well just wait until I give it a rewatch. But yeah, I would say the story on this one's grown on me. It's definitely better than the first one. I think that's a lot. All of us, I think, agree with that. Again, I also said it's a simple plot, but I think Top Gun Maverick was a simple plot as well. One of the more fun films of the year. Banshees of Inisherin was probably one of the most simple plots I've seen in years. One of the most beautiful films of the year. I mean, it is. It's just literally about friends who are no longer friends.
Yeah, I guess it's deceptively simple, but I think it presents itself.
It has like with the war and stuff. It has like underlying emotions and shit like that. But yeah, I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah, I think it's probably deceptively simple. I get. Yeah.
And then so I'd say like just getting outside of just what like movie TikTok people say. My friends all didn't really. I have some friends that love the original Avatar. But a lot of them said they give it like a 3 out of 5, and they all saw it this weekend and said like it is miles better. Like my friends, like the common people, love this movie according to what I'm hearing. Like they're just like all saying like this is absolutely incredible. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, with that, we all give it a 4 out of 5 stars, which is like a rare, like maybe the only time ever we've all given the exact same star rating for a movie.
No, After Sun, we all give it 5.
Oh, true, fair. Yeah. But yeah, it's rare
that
we all.
It surprises me that we all give it a 4. I thought there'd be like one at like a 4.55, one at like a 3.
Right,
it's quite
I was surprised
movie.
we all landed there too. But we'll end it there. So if you haven't seen it yet, and you don't want to get spoiled, we will
76 out of 100.
cut it there.
Oh,
76, yeah, and I give it a 7.9. But again, I'm going to be re-rating it once I go see it, like probably within the next week or so with my girlfriend. And I saw it on regular, just basic ass screen, but this time I'll go see it on IMAX 3D. But now we'll get into spoiler talk. So we'll just start with Cam. You know what? I think a good place to start is just with some of your notes. You took a lot of notes during this movie.
I have a ton, and I'll go through them and all the big ones that I want to hit. At the start of the movie, the writing was very, hey, this is what's happened in the past couple of years, and that I thought was going to piss me off, and I said this in my review. I thought like the entire movie was going to be on the nose, and it wasn't. It was just like the very start of the movie, and then I grew to be more okay with that because it has been 13 years since the last movie. You kind of have to explain, hey, we've had these kids, we've moved on. We're enjoying our life.
I think
whatever.
there's a better way to do it, though, don't you? Like,
yeah, probably.
Very...
Honestly, for me, it feels like something you don't need to explain. Like they had kids and they're enjoying their life. Maybe I don't know how to do it. I don't know the answer. I'm not a film maker of any kind. Like I don't know the answer. I'm just saying when I see it, I notice it a little bit. And like I said, I watched this movie a couple weeks ago, and I watched it Thursday during the day.
Avatar.
Yeah, sorry, the original Avatar. I watched it just to catch up, see where we were at. So that kind of is like right on my mind. I said this. I don't give a fuck about Jake Sully. I don't care about his character, and a lot of people commented on my review saying like, how can't you care about his character? He's an ex-Marine. He gave up his life for this. He hated his life. Do you know how easy it is to give up your life and go to a different life when you hate your fucking life? He didn't have any movement in his legs anymore. He was glad to be an Avatar. So yeah, he got the better half, and it feels like he just falls his way upwards. And that just kind of continued into this movie for me. I don't necessarily care for his character. The plot point that I said I had issues with in the story, I said this movie is very Son gets in trouble, people get captured or something goes wrong, Jake gets mad at Son tries to fix problem, rinse and repeat. I swear that happens like 3-4 times during this movie.
It's the formula. It's in so many films.
That's fair, but I thought that specific, like Son goes into jungle where they see
it happened more than once.
What's the bad guy's name? I don't even know.
Colonel, whatever.
Yeah, Colonel. They see him, they get in trouble because they get captured. Spider gets captured. And then later in the movie, they go off and they beat up the new Avatar blue people. They get in trouble. And then later he tries to make it up, goes talks to this big old whale thing that he's best friends with now, gets in trouble for that. It just happened a lot in this movie. It kind of upset me. It's not like something I'm freaking out about by any means. I don't know where we want to go, like spoiler wise. Like I said, I have a ton of notes, but I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts, maybe more spoiler wise.
Yeah.
Like some random things you've already mentioned. So, first off, you just brought up Spider. So I know some people are like really criticizing his performance, saying it was awful. I don't think it was nearly like the kid in Black Adam bad. Like it was nowhere near that. I didn't really have a problem with it. Like Spider, that, like I mentioned this like I tweeted about this and like texted you guys it, but like that kid, when he was filming this movie, he was like 15 and 16, and this dude just straight up, like everyone else is CGI'd, and this dude's like straight up real naked for the whole time, which like it's a 3-hour movie, but you have to imagine like how many months on set this like 15, 16-year-old kid's just naked. I'm like, that's like impressive. Like to have that confidence and like just be able to just be straight up naked for like probably legitimately like what 2 to 3 years of your life, just on set for 2 to 3 years, just butt ass naked. That's just kind of, and he went for like, he'd never been in anything. The only thing he was ever in before this is Avengers Endgame, and what his role was kid on a bike. So he was just like a background.
Was he the guy who's when Scott goes back or forward in time, I guess, to see his daughter? Is that who the kid is? Interesting. Yes. Oh, that's fun. Okay.
But yeah, that dude was pretty, like his acting like didn't really take me out. Yeah. But like I didn't hate it.
Have an issue with it.
I didn't think it was like amazing or anything. But again, he was like a 15-year-old kid. But he was pretty badass. I thought like he's clearly like has to be like a gymnast or some shit. Like I know a lot of it's like stunt work, but I mean the dude clearly like is like a in shape dude that's able to do some pretty cool stuff.
He did quite annoy me, but not in the way of his performance. I just think he was written, his dialogue was terrible at times.
Yeah.
And the scene when he was like, he'd just been captured by his dad, whatever, and he's like banging on the window, throws a chair at the window. I just thought that was quite cringe, to be honest. And like kind of the things he was shouting, it was like, and I think it comes with bad dialogue when it's like he's always saying what he's feeling, if that makes sense, and he's always trying to get that across to an audience. That for me just comes across as, we know this, we don't need to hear this from his mouth. But I don't think he was necessarily bad. I don't think he was, I think he was fine. Like you said, it's very early on in terms of career role and stuff like that. I don't think he's a bad actor. I just think that just comes down to the issue with the dialogue, and I think that's the case for I often think a lot of people think a performance is bad without realizing his script is just not very good. And it's quite hard to make a good script look bad script look good, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I just think he was kind of cringe at times. That's
one person I think is a big culprit of their performance or the script being really bad for them, which I think ties back to the original Avatar, is the worst character in the original Avatar for me was Sigourney Weaver. I thought when I rewatched the original Avatar, I was like, her dialogue is awful. I don't know if it's the dialogue that she's written or her performance, but she was by far the worst thing for me in the original Avatar. And then I felt it the same in the second one as well.
So every time I listened to her, I was like, I am picturing a fucking 73-year-old woman doing a child's voice. It is so weird. It's like, why would they recast it? Surely they can just spend millions less on an actual 14-year-old actor to do the fucking role.
Have they ever said why they start? Like,
how much do you? No, James Cameron said he hired her again because she had childlike qualities. Hire a fucking child. It doesn't. How much do you think she cost? Like to do that role? Like realistically,
$5 million. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. How much would a 14-year-old who's actually like a decent voice?
$5. a lemonade stand.
There's probably like some reason, but that was just the weirdest. And she just I love Sigourney Weaver, but it was fucking weird. Like it's so strange to hear that. And I kept thinking every time.
The news came out that she visited high school classes to prepare for her 14-year-old role. Just a weird move. Cam, what was your rule of thumb you said for visiting high school now?
Oh yeah, 30. I said if you're 30 years old, you have no reason to be in a high school for longer than a week.
You can get held back in.
Okay, if you're held back to that point, I think it's time, unfortunately, to go to a community high school. But like, unless you're a teacher, don't go around high schools if you're 30 plus, or your child is there and you're maybe at a basketball game or like a parent-teacher conference. Just you have no reason to be there.
It is Sigourney Weaver. I'd probably.
I'll give you 3 hours so you can go to a basketball game. But like, leave me alone. I'm fucking 15. Get out of here, old woman. It's just like, yuck. Get away from us.
Yeah, I guess this could have been covered in the non-spoiler section too. Whatever, it's not really a spoiler, but a common, not comparison, but like that I've seen made. But what I'm hearing from people, it reminds me a lot of what I heard when Dune came out. Is I heard a lot of people in reviews say when Dune came out, they're like, "Oh my god, I don't give a fuck about this desert. Like, stop just showing me the desert for 20 minutes spans over like the entire thing." Hearing like it's just giving me a lot of flashbacks to that with like the Avatar: The Way of Water, where people. Whereas like for me, I love like. And I do think Avatar did it even longer than Dune, but I didn't even care in Dune or Avatar. Like, I just thought it was so fun to look at that just, I don't care. Like, if you're a filmmaker with that cool of a set and, like, cinematography, show it to me. But I know a lot of, like, the general audience when Dune came out was upset, and same with Avatar. But, and again, this is not a hot take, but this is, like, genuinely, like, a perfect movie technically and, visually and audio-wise. Like, the score, the sound effects. There was never, like, a single scene where I'm like, oh, you could have put a couple extra million into this to make it look a little better. Like, no, like everything genuinely looked incredible. But yeah.
Do we want to hit them? Do we want to kind of, I feel like this is a big movie that we should kind of like go through like beat for beat kind of a like.
Yeah, I think Cam, like, you can keep going through your notes and we'll just break off from there and like talk about it.
I was just going to mention off Tyler's point. I actually weirdly enjoyed the second act more than the first. And I know that's like something which is quite surprising because obviously, let's be honest, it was just a visual showcase, but I don't know. It was James Cameron being James Cameron, but I really enjoyed that. Like, I enjoyed them going to this. We can move on to this obviously in a bit, but going to this other area, experiencing this kind of other culture of people, I guess. I found the first act just to be very amazing visual, but just incredibly predictable. I mean, the film was predictable. Yeah, I enjoyed the second act a little bit more than the first, which is probably a popular opinion.
I'll put some more structure to it. So we'll break this up into the thirds. So the first third of the movie is, because the original Avatar came out in 2009, so 13 years later, we're going back to Pandora, and James Cameron said that the real time is the same as the movie theater time. So 13 years has passed within Pandora at this point. So the amount of time we've been waiting is the amount of time has passed. Jake Sully and Neytiri, they have kids, they have a family, they've been enjoying life. It's been mostly peaceful since the original Avatar and the war broke out. But since then, in the background, the Colonel and the rest of the Marines have been strategizing, planning, developing technology, developing their avatar bodies. What, Cam?
I have a question.
Yeah.
This was my question that I said I was going to ask the other day. Did we know humans were the villain of this again? Did I miss that in like trailers and everything? I was like quite.
It wasn't in the trailers, but
I think it was
kinda
like,
knew.
yes, everyone just
I think it was
looked.
implied.
Okay, I thought it was like Avatar v Avatar, and that kind of bummed me out. I was like, I don't care about these sky people anymore. Like, none of the villains are really all that, emotionally. I'm not really emotionally connected to any of them, and
No, it's just standard.
we'll go over it in my notes later on in the movie. But I sent you guys my like live notes of the end battle. But yeah, I didn't know the humans were the villains of it, and I was like, it kind of feels.
Once we get to talking about the third act, we'll talk about the villain and where we think it could go from there, and where we want it to go from there. But so first act, everything's going peaceful, but the sky people and the Marines have been training, they've been developing their avatar bodies and preparing to come back and seek revenge on Jake Sully, take over Pandora once again, and finally put an end to this whole conflict that's been going on. So they officially come back to Pandora. That's when, like Cam mentioned earlier, the kids and the family meet up and are kind of sneaking up on them and end up getting captured. So the whole first third of this movie is really putting you back into Pandora, telling you all what's been going on in the past 14 years, showing that the sky people are now back, and then conflict ensues. And because of this, Jake Sully and Neytiri and their family have to leave where they have been on Pandora and go and meet what we have in the second act of where they meet the other blue people. But before we get to that second act, that's my overall just quick recap of the first act. What am I missing there? Is there anything we want to dive into with the quick first third of this movie that's just kind of recapping everything and reintroducing the sky people versus Avatar conflict?
I think that's everyone's, or at least everyone that I've seen, is just like common criticism of that first act. It is so rushed. There's so much exposition. It feels so hectic. Like right from that first shot, we're like back in. We're right back in. Shit is going on.
They don't have to try and just push what we've already know.
I get it. It's been 13 years. Obviously, there's going to be a whole new generation of people watching Avatar 2 that may not remember Avatar 1 as well as we do. But yeah, it felt like by the end of Act 1, it was like catch your breath. Like
I didn't mind Act 1, but I
mind it.
I only have one note from Act 1, and this is so very classic. I must leave to protect everyone. I'm certain he's going to ruin someone else's life now. That was my note. That was my note. So I was correct.
People getting upset with like me and other people saying that like the screenplay isn't that strong here. We could pick apart so many like just common tropes this movie goes through.
Yeah. This for me, and you guys talked about it with Top Gun though, like this for me is where I don't necessarily like mind them as much. And Top Gun especially. Like I really like Top Gun. I think it's one of the better movies of the year, but it's almost where I'm not there to see a story. The story's not great, and it's not the best movie ever because of that, but I think I'm there to see the visuals, and I think a lot of people agree with it. But I don't think that gives it a pass necessarily. It's just not something that upsets me as much.
Yeah, I think like going off what George said, people were in my comments. I'm sure they were with George like in review as well, and probably both of you guys. Like saying how we said, the screenplay isn't that good, the script isn't that good, whatever. We still give it a 4 out of 5, which considering how many negatives we took from the film in terms of how many tropes it used, how the dialogue wasn't great, we still had a very enjoyable experience and still gave it that higher rating. Even though we had the issues with it, which says a lot about the film and how if the visuals are amazing in a lot of films, but the script is not great, it's going to push it down quite a lot for you, like it did with the original Avatar for me. Because then we all give it a 4 out of 5. That's a very good score. Very good score.
I agree with what Cam said. Like even though we're watching this movie, and same thing with Straw Hat's video, we're watching this movie to look at what James Cameron was able to accomplish. At the same time, I'm not giving this movie a pass because of that. Like
otherwise, it'd be a 5-star. Or
exactly. Like the screenplay to me is still very important. That's how I weigh rewatch value. And unfortunately, I'm not gonna rewatch this movie probably as many times as I would something else because I just didn't care for it. It was a great theater experience for what it was. I had a blast watching what was going on screen and watching what James Cameron is capable of. I will probably never rewatch this movie.
You're not gonna watch it like the Batman then.
No, definitely not.
I just want to put out to people listening, George has watched the Batman 6 times already. That is wild to me.
That's not why. It absolutely clears Avatar.
No, it's just the length that it's 6 times. To watch a 3-hour plus film 6 times since February. That's good going. I quite respect it, to be honest.
So
rolling into the second act.
Rolling into the second act. So the whole second act is when they're meeting I'm sorry. What's the name of the other blue people? I didn't write it down.
The water tars.
The water tars.
Okay.
Wait, is that their actual name?
It's not actually. That's
No,
my
I know,
fake
but
name for it. But
It's just funny because these are fake made up people. But yeah, so
I think they're just avatars.
The water
as well,
people.
but
Say
they're
the water people.
they're racist avatars towards other. Dude, they were, and they were like, "You guys are from the jungle. You're not like us. You suck." They were, man.
It's like that colonialism.
So the second act, they go to their area in Pandora and meet up with these other people that they've never really encountered before. They're the people of the water versus the people of the forest, and very classic, like when two different cultures they look different, they act different, they are different, come together. There's going to be some butting heads, and throughout this whole time, basically Jake Sully and Interior and their family are running away from the Sky people that are trying to hunt them down and find them, even though it's inevitable that they're going to end up finding them. But while they're there with the water people, they have to figure out how to live because they have a totally different lifestyle. The water people have bigger tails that help them swim better. They have different animals that they use to the jungle people had those, birds they're flying around on, dragons are flying around, whereas the water people have these more water-based. They can hold their breath way longer. Like their whole genetics and everything they do and the way they've adapted their landscape is completely different.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much the whole second act is learning how to adapt to this. And assimilating with the culture, going, with they're butting heads, but they have to come to a common understanding. And kind of for me, what this whole second act boils down to is it's like the polar other end of the spectrum of Prey. Whereas my biggest problem with Prey this year was she goes from just like not that great to totally competent in a snap. Whereas in this one, it's like it gave us a little too much of them training where it looked beautiful, but it's like, okay, we get it. You've officially learned how to hold your breath better. You've learned how to swim better. You've learned how to master these animals. Just maybe gave us a little too much of the development, whereas Prey gave us like none. So I'd say for me, and I think a pretty common criticism is like even people who love the movie would say the second act is what dragged the longest. And I would say I agree the second act did definitely drag because they just gave us so much of this water scenes and Sigourney Weaver just looking like she's tripping on acid, looking at these fishes and stuff at the bottom of the ocean. Like I just honestly got a chuckle every time I saw her character because like everyone else just like swimming like normal and she's just like, holy shit, this goldfish.
And then suddenly
is the
she
coolest thing.
manages to form a bond with like
I think what the problem was she was like the main character of this movie. Basically, like she had this connection to the water that like none of the rest of the people in her family had, and they really focused on her and that connection. And it's like kind of off-putting that it was Sigourney Weaver as this 14-year-old, and you always hear her voice and you're like, that's just Sigourney Weaver. It doesn't look like her, which like it looks like an avatar in my opinion. I think because of how good it looks, I think that just was a bit of
younger her. Yeah.
I'm so happy I didn't know that was Sigourney Weaver until after I watched the movie.
Really? How did you miss that news?
I have no idea, but that would have.
Did we speak about this on the pod? I'm sure we did.
We did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I definitely didn't pay attention.
I mean, that's a better way to go into it because
that would have lowered the movie as a star for me if I had known that.
Yeah.
Well,
I will say, I really like the design of the like other avatars, whatever they're called, the water tars. Like it was so cool. It's so cool that they're like a lighter blue because they're always in the sun. Their tails are stronger because they swim with them. They can hold their breath longer, but like you can learn to do that. I don't know if there were any other distinct like differences. Oh no, they have 5 fingers because they're human, not
the bigger tails. I don't know if you also mentioned that, but
I did mention that, but that's I liked that a lot.
The second act, then, just kind of going off of what Tyler said, James Cameron was showing off like crazy. I feel like he completely pushed like the overall plot with the Sky people to the background, and he was like, "Let me just show you what I'm capable of." I loved it.
I think it's good.
And
it's
the whole
slow.
We are in spoilers. Doesn't matter. The whole sequence where one of Jake Sully's sons goes out like past the reef with the boys, and they like leave him obviously, and he meets the giant whale thing. I nearly shed a tear when like the lights dimmed and the whale thing like glowed up and shit. That was beautiful.
Can we talk about what led to that moment? The fight scene.
The most cliche high school bullies I've ever seen.
He was like, "I've got fingers," and he was like putting him down.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? Come on.
That was bad.
So Jake Sully's kids hate the fucking chief master of these other avatars kids, and guess what?
They were bullying.
They become friends.
Sigourney Weaver's character, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then they
They
come over.
become friends like 5 minutes later.
Well, and then we have to. This is a note I mentioned. So after they fight, this is another like Jake. This is another what I mentioned. Jake Sully's kid gets in trouble, and then Jake makes him. In this situation, Jake makes him go apologize to the kids, and they are like, "Hey, you want to come hunting outside of the reef with us?"
And they're like winking at each other.
Yeah. But then I wrote down, "This way, I know a good spot." That's a direct quote. And then, "Hey, dumbass, these kids are looking at each other, winking, and you're looking at them while they do this."
Cam, do you make these notes whilst you're watching the film?
Yes.
I would.
Seth hates that. Yeah,
I would.
Bro,
I dim my phone. My theater was. I sit in the very back row. My theater was not packed. There was no one within 2 seats of me.
Do you ever like just scroll social media whilst you're watching the film? I feel like you would.
A film not like this. Yeah, probably at some point.
Like in Amsterdam, because I think
so. Like Tyler, when he was texting about me pissing, like I saw all those. I don't know. I didn't reply to you with satisfaction. Yeah, I mean. I could see the movie; it's right there. I don't know the last time I've ever watched a movie without looking at my phone.
But yeah, going back to that scene where he was ditched and left, kind of to die, basically. I don't know if it's just like the IMAX effect of being in a theater, because so for me, I saw this on a basic ass screen, but I knew that, so I was like, I actually went in like the front, like you know how there's like the front part of the theater that no one sits in. I sat in that because I was like, I want to just, I'm not at IMAX, but let's like make it quasi IMAX. When and it happens like twice in the movie when they're like drowning underwater and they do like the heartbeat effect, like it actually made me like claustrophobic almost, like hearing like them not being able to breathe, and like it was just the loud speakers that like heartbeat. I was literally like, fuck, like just get to air. Like I was like, oh my god.
Drowning just sounds so scary. Like it made me a bit like on edge.
The drowning scenes were like making me like, those were intense. But yeah, so what else do we want to go into the second act? Because I think we all agree it's drawn out, and I don't want to make this portion of the pod drawn out and talking about how drawn out it is.
No, we don't. I don't.
You didn't think it was too long?
Like it, yeah.
No, I didn't. I definitely get where you're coming from, but I actually just really enjoyed the visuals, and I could have watched that for longer. I didn't actually think it was drawn out. I enjoyed the second act more than I did the first.
I'm sorry, I know we probably already asked this a million times. Seth, did you see it in 3D or were you just normal?
Yeah, I saw it in 3D, but a normal screen.
Oh, you did. Fuck yeah. You
so
did.
and then I went to the front like you did, because I was like, I want to try and get the best experience with it.
Yeah.
I liked the second act.
I'll go through my notes of the second act. Like I bet the son bonds with this Y-mouth shark guy, and that's how he gains respect. And then there's a there's always a bigger fish moment. So James Cameron's stealing that from Star Wars. No. But yeah, so then he bonds with the bigger fish. Jake Sully is the worst dad in cinematic history. Just sucks. Always getting mad at his kids.
No,
Home Alone dad.
Maybe not the worst, but he's one of the worst. I guess I wrote. Zoe Saldana took just one of the biggest back seats in this movie. Just leave her character out. She's not in this middle section. It
was
feels
weird.
Which I like her character a lot more than I like Jake Sully, so I was a little bummed about that. What's the point of these fish that can like half fly? I just ride the other ones. They both can jump out of the water just as high. The like fish that kind of fly, but their tails are still in the water. Yeah, it's just, I guess they're faster, but what's the point? Is this the second act where they get into the Colonel and this like whale ship that's hunting these big ass?
I don't consider anything of the Colonel's second act. I consider the third.
Okay. So my next note is third act, so we can get into that.
One thing about the second act, and I said this about Strange World, the new animated movie that came out this year. Whoever did these creature designs was on some drugs. There was some weird fish floating around that ocean for a little bit.
I'll be honest. They look. I like dinosaurs a lot. They look a lot like they're like old dinosaurs.
Yeah,
like that. So I think they just guessed. Doesn't matter. Continue
right,
to the third act. I do like dinosaurs.
All right, let's get to this.
Second act is done. Third act is when I consider the second act to be done basically once the conflict's reintroduced, and at this point the two different species of blue people are, they're not exactly symbiotic, but they both have come to a common understanding of each other's cultures and realize that they have to band together if they want to defeat this threat. And this is when the Colonel and the Marines and the people on the boats are coming back in. The main conflict is, of course, the main Colonel trying to kill Jake Sully, and he goes to great lengths where he's like literally about to just cap people in the head to be like, you got to tell me where these people are. I'm just going to kill people. But at the same time, there's also kind of a second conflict going on that I want to talk about when we're done with talking about the third act that I think actually might be where the third, fourth, and fifth, like the bigger conflict might come from, of this liquid that basically prevents aging, that they're trying to
My comment on that.
Fish.
My comment on that was, yeah, fucking course it does. Yes,
but I think that's going to be where like the ultimate and next conflict might go, is just because that's going to be every rich person in America is going to want that.
Like a Black Panther.
That to me
what's the thing
is
about Panther?
Vibranium. Yeah, it's a very much a vibranium type
That
thing,
to me is just as bad as calling something fucking unobtainium. You can't obtain it.
I mean,
Fuck you.
Why? What is it called? Is it called something corny?
No, it's not called anything, but he's like, this liquid makes you live forever. Yeah,
Cam, that's vibranium.
Of course it
does. This
no,
is
vibranium does not make you live forever. Vibranium makes you stronger when it's... No, the heart-shaped herb makes you stronger. No, I'm not mad about the substance of unobtainium.
Who are you arguing with here? You're arguing with yourself.
I'm mad about the name unobtainium.
That's not the name, though.
In the first movie, the fucking metal that they're going after is called unobtainium.
Okay.
To not be obtained. How are you going to obtain it?
All right. Okay. Well, we're done with that. But so the third act has some of the greatest action sequences I may have ever seen in a theater. Like the ones that immediately stick out is like when that dude's arm gets like caught by the rope and then gets ripped off. You
awesome.
did are you saying that in a bad
really
way
good.
or a good way?
really
I thought that was sick.
No, that was sick. Like my theater applauded.
That looked insane.
That was
because like
this is a New York thing, isn't it, George? The applauding in theaters. I saw like Sophie's.
Dude, I swear.
No, it's just every person not in UK.
Ever since No Way Home, people applauded. People just are more comfortable with like applauding things.
Dude,
I've never had this.
That shot was so sick, and I feel like this movie, this movie truly pushed the boundaries of PG-13 because you get a little bit of nipple in the beginning, you get one F-bomb from Spider, you get literal limbs being decapitated. Like this, like I feel like was actually very close to like an R rating because it gets graphic in the third act. I mean, nudity, F words, and decapitated limbs. Like that's all in this movie.
I mean, there's no full nudity.
I saw full Avatar nipple in the first scene.
The limbs thing was done in like a. It wasn't very graphic, wasn't it?
Really? On Tyler's point of nipples, you want to know how cool James Cameron is? The one body part that he insisted Na'vi have, breasts. Sick, James Cameron. Way to just make sure they have tits. Good job, dude.
Okay,
that's his direct quote: is they should have tits.
But yeah, the action sequences with the boat scenes. Just whether it's from like the small like U-boats that are driving around or like the major like ship that's like sinking at the end, like all the action sequences of the third act were absolutely incredible, jaw-dropping. The third act to me was easily the best act of the film, and I really have like no negatives for it, like except maybe like some of the plot lines. But I mean, in terms of like what the movie was already leading up towards, so like we already knew what the screenplay was.
We already know. You can't give a negative when we already know that's gonna happen.
Yeah, we know what to expect at this point. We're not expecting like A-class writing. Like there's nothing I can mark negatively on the third act. So I'll kick it over to you guys for what you want to talk about or Cam, any of your notes. But for me, the third act was basically peak action.
What did you think of the doctor guys? Oh, not doctors. What were they? Like the Australian guys?
They reminded me of Charlie Day's character in Pacific Rim.
I didn't like
yes.
Where like we're
them.
supposed to be geniuses.
They kind of annoyed me.
Yeah, they come off as stupid idiots.
The saddest part of the movie for me actually was the whale dying. That was like hard to watch for me. That was fucking sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's the problem. I care about the animals a whole lot more than I care shit about
everyone always cares about animal deaths more than human deaths in films because it's always like that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. My big issue with the third act, and this felt like they got tied up. What? 3-4 times in the third act, they got captured, then escaped, and then the girls got captured again. Every time I'm getting so mad because it's not the Colonel, it's the who plays the other villain in this movie. I don't even know
which one.
He's the guy who plays he plays a character in Daredevil. George. He plays the barber, or not the barber, the suit maker. But whatever. He's the other villain, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
They even made a joke about that. The little girl said, handcuffed again, or something like that.
Yes. And I have that written down, dude. I fucking hate when
even I was
try to be self-aware. And it's it's not cool to be self-aware. Like, I don't know. I probably
Marvel films do that all the time.
I know they do. And
I will say about the third act, to divert from a conversation about handcuffs. I like the third act the best, and I think visually it succeeded on every level. It's exactly what I think James Cameron wanted to and set out to achieve. When it got dark, like the daylight in that scene, and it's like the final battle of like Jake and the Colonel, and then they're trying to escape. That was mind blowing, especially when Sigourney Weaver's character was like doing that light shit going around. Mm-hmm. I was sitting there, I felt like I was high as fuck. But also the third act, and I have my screenplay issues. I don't care for the characters as much as I wanted to, especially the villain. Holy fuck, could I not give a shit about him?
Yeah.
It did feel like the only act that had genuine stakes. It was the only act that like genuinely made me go, oh shit, like something is going to happen. Some shit is about to go down. Obviously, we didn't get that in the second act because the second act was just James Cameron showing off. And the first act was a lot of exposition. This third act, I think, is by far the best because the only one that genuinely made me nervous about whatever sequence of events I was about to start watching.
Mm-hmm. To the villain point, it feels like he's trying to build this. It's Stephen Lang's the actor, and I should have known his name earlier, but I looked it up. It feels like he's trying to build this guy up as like a Darth Vader or a Voldemort or someone who's going to be the villain of all 6 films of how he gets. And God, I just don't care about his villain. And I sent this to George and Tyler. Seth, you hadn't seen the movie yet, but I wrote, motherfucker, if this guy's the 3rd movie villain, I swear. And then I wrote, oh, good, never mind, because Jake Sully goes, let's end this right now. And then I wrote, Jesus Christ, never mind again. Because they save him, the son, Spider, who's the only good human in this. He saves him at the end because he's like the son of Stephen Lang's human character. Mm-hmm. And God,
what did we think about that scene? What do we think about him saving at the end?
I liked that he just left him, but also
same. I would have been really pissed if he stayed.
Yeah, I would have if he went.
So I was pissed because he saved him, but I was like, this happens so often in movies that it's like whatever. But then when he left him, I was like, okay, at least he redeemed it a little bit there by not staying with him because I would have been like,
it was more.
I actually would have been
one of those situations where it's like if he doesn't save him, then he probably feels like he killed him because he has the option to save him, and it's like. And so I think it's good that he saved him and he just left, but also he's got that bird avatar thing, and so he's going to come back for the 3rd movie.
Yeah. To that earlier point, Cam, I do think James Cameron is trying to build him up to be like the big bad of the entire Avatar universe.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think
I like Stephen Lang.
It comes off almost as if like. And obviously, we know James Cameron was so focused on just putting shit on screen where he kind of lacked in like character development and shit. But it seems like he didn't want to be bothered writing like a new villain. Like when he woke up in that Avatar state, I was like, no fucking way. I was like, no way. And they tried to explain it like, oh, he's not the same person. He's not Ridley Spider's dad. Fuck you. It's the exact same person.
Yeah. All the memories, all the soul.
It's the exact same person, and he just came across so one-dimensional. He came across as just the most classic I'm on a mission villain with essentially no motives. The whole motive was I just want to kill this fucking guy. That's it. That's it.
This is, and my last 2 points are not useful in any way, but this I feel like is a fair point in my opinion. And I said like during the end when the ship is sinking, I said it doesn't feel like there are any stakes in this point because in my opinion, they can breathe underwater for 20 fucking minutes, just swim through the ship and find a way out. Like they're running from the entrance that they came to stay above water. You can swim underwater. I know she gets dragged down, but after 2 minutes in there, it'll fill up enough to where you're no longer getting pulled. It frustrated me a little bit because they can swim underwater like for 30 minutes. And Jake Sully's character, like he was described as like he was so worn down that he couldn't breathe underwater. That's fine. I think there were stakes for him. I don't think there were stakes for Neytiri and fucking Kiri.
There was one instance, and this is just me being nitpicky now. It truly, I was sitting there. I almost started yelling at my screen. It was the scene where Jake and his son are standing across the bad guy, holding the daughter like a knife to her throat. Spider and Zoe Saldana's character were right behind him, and he had no idea. He had zero clue that they were literally 10 feet behind him hiding. They could have stabbed him, shot him, hit him. They could have done.
I know what you're referring to.
They could have done anything except walk around him and say, "Please don't do this."
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It bothered me so much.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
A knife through his head. Something. Yeah. He had no clue they were 10
I agree. They
him.
should. The only thing I can like think of is like, and again, this comes back to just like the negativity of we just didn't get enough Neytiri to know where her motives or emotions lied. But like, if it was just because like her losing her kid, like truly made her like where she like legitimately was like so like killing Spider, like I will do this to save my kid. But again, we didn't get enough Neytiri to know where her head was at that point. How much is she attached to
I kind of like that.
Spider compared to? Yeah, I didn't mind as much, but I get what you're saying, George, 100%.
I remember it now,
and I think that kind of goes back to just we didn't get enough of Neytiri to know where her mind state was at that point.
Sorry, is that Sigourney Weaver's character? I can't remember.
No, the Zoe Saldana's. The mother.
Yeah. After that sequence where Zoe Saldana's character takes Spider, puts the knife to his throat, I am surprised Spider like went along with them I would have been like, absolutely not.
Fuck you.
Yeah, like what just happened? Like you just put a knife to my throat and you sliced my chest open. Like I'm not going with you anymore. It was very odd that he was just like.
It was a daughter though. I kind of get it. Like you would.
Yeah.
But from Spider's
they didn't like him at the start of the movie.
That's why I'm kind of like. That's why I do think. Like I'm again, the writing. I'm not trying to defend it because I didn't think it was great, but that's why I think the final scene where he's like with his dad, and I was like, I genuinely didn't know if he's gonna stay with his dad or not because like I feel like he was given reasons to leave those people because like so that's why like that scene I like genuinely was like I didn't want him to go with the dad because I'm like, oh, this is stupid, but like I feel like at that point I was truly uncertain where he was gonna go because she didn't stab him, but she still sliced him across the pecs.
Yeah. I'll say like. If you've made it through this again is just I'm so biased on this movie probably just because like but I feel like my score is pretty where it should be. I mean we all agree it's a 4 out of 5. Mine's lower. I'm at a 76 out of 100 like I said.
Well,
these points like don't upset me or they probably do upset me but I think it's just the visuals are so damn good and I think the story is good enough to make this a good movie. I don't it's not great but it's good enough in my opinion. I'm just very biased in the fact that I dislike James Cameron and I think he's a jackass. And
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, what's up?
You might not have this off the top of your head. How many Marvel films do you think you've rated higher than this?
Probably 20 out of the 28. I guess.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be that far off either. I mean,
really?
I'd probably.
No, I don't think you have that many.
Here's an absurdly hot take that I know you guys are going to disagree with, and as I think about it,
me. Probably if it's Marvel.
No, it's not about Marvel.
Okay.
This for me is pretty similar to The Lion King that came out in like 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. 2019. Yeah, it might be even more recent. Where it is like The Lion King and this, like they're beautiful. They're an incredible. It's insane how good they look. You know, like The Lion King, in my opinion, looks like one of the best. But it has different problems, but I have them around the same score where The Lion King kind of feels like it has no soul. I don't care that it's a remake or it's the same exact plot because it's a remake. So obviously it's going to have the same exact plot. But it has no soul to it. So I don't think it's great, but I have that at a 75 and this at a 76.
Really?
Yeah, like
I have that a lot lower. Like
I think a lot of people do, but I just give it so much benefit for just how fucking good it looks, in my opinion. And I think that's the same with this. And maybe I should drop that score a little bit. I don't know if I've watched it since I think I saw it twice in theaters. You know how I feel about the original Lion King, so I wanted to really love it, but I don't know if I've watched it since then. I go back to the original.
I didn't realize you had it that high because I would have thought you would have had it a lot lower because of how much you love the original.
It's insane how good it looks, you know, and I just agree with that.
Just lacks everything the original had for me.
I don't necessarily disagree.
If I ranked The Way of Water among Marvel movies, I would have it sitting at 12.
I think that's fairer than 20.
I think
I threw out a random number. Let me check.
I would throw it right above Spider-Man: Homecoming, but I wouldn't put above like Shang-Chi, Black Panther, Iron Man.
Ragnarok, I think that's pretty much about where I would rank it too.
Yeah,
right about.
I haven't seen all of them, so I can't obviously. I think I'd have about 6, but I haven't seen Phase 4.
Because again, and you guys know this about me, everyone weighs their ratings differently, whether you try to rate it as objectively as possible, whether you want to include your personal enjoyment. I weigh rewatch value fairly high.
Which is why I thought it was crazy when you're going to lower the Batman from a 5. I was like, George, you've seen it 6 times. You can't lower it from a 5.
I agree.
But like, here's one thing, and this might piss off, I don't know, some Marvel people. I think Avatar: The Way of Water is objectively a better film than Spider-Man: No Way Home. Are we agreeing or disagreeing with that?
I would agree.
Can I give my point?
I disagree.
But here's the thing. I am ranking Spider-Man: No Way Home higher than Avatar: The Way of Water.
Which is 100% fair.
Because I will never rewatch The Way of Water. I've rewatched No Way Home like 4 times.
Hold on, Seth, you had a point?
Here we go. It's not better than Barry Lyndon.
No, well, that's I will not go into this argument because I know where this will go. I don't think it's possible to give an objective rating on a film. Hear me out. No, hear me out.
No, I agree on that.
I think you can. So, like, we know film as like what's good about film. You know, the pacing, cinematography, performance, etc. But I think they're kind of biases of what we think are good about film, if that makes sense. So, like, I think that's just rating on what we perceive to be good about film. But then if you're looking at, like, No Way Home and... What was the other one, sorry? Was it Avatar?
Shang-Chi. Avatar, yeah.
It's like those sort of markings. I get where you're coming from. I just think... So, do you think we can rate film objectively?
So, here, I think the perfect example here is Tyler and Spider-Man. Did I just cut out real quick?
No, you're good.
No?
Oh, sorry. I think the perfect example here is Tyler and 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah,
Tyler rates it a 5 out of 5,
but
he has mentioned that he thinks it's incredibly boring and he'll probably never watch it again.
Yeah.
But I also will say that's not to disrespect any of you. I think anyone can rate things how they want to. That's just my kind of. I value kind of that personal enjoyment so much that like I just couldn't rate something high if I didn't want to rewatch it. Like George. I value rewatchability as well. So I think at the end of the day, like everyone can rate things how they kind of want to.
Yeah,
I think that's probably a good example with Tyler in like 2001 or Cam and Seven Samurai.
Yeah, to the point of like objectivity. No, you can't rate anything as objective. I try to be as objective as possible. Like in a sense, like I'd be lying to tell you I'd rather watch The Godfather over literally anything MCU. I'm just a fan of the MCU. I'd rather watch Thor: Love and Thunder than The Godfather. If I told you The Godfather was a worse movie than Thor: Love and Thunder, I'd be a fucking liar. You know, like it's something you can so clearly see, in my opinion, when you watch a movie. You're like, this is leaps and bounds better than.
So do you think you like rate things off like?
I try to, like I said, I try to be as objective as
appreciation of a film as well.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you rate things off like Tyler appreciates how ahead of his time 2001 was, or how influential it was. So you kind of push your rating a little bit from your appreciation. Does that make sense? So I think that comes in for a lot of people.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure I have. Without a doubt, I have MCU bias. But like I always say, I try to be as objective as possible. I try to see a movie and not. But you know, you'll probably won't get me. You'll have me rating Thor. I think I gave Thor: The Dark World like a 45 or something. I don't think that's a very good movie. It's around where everyone else rates it. A 48, whatever. But I also, if we were to come into this review and say Thor: The Dark World came out, I would probably not have as long of a list of notes as I just had for Avatar. I like, but I'll still say like this movie like kind of just sucked. You know, I may not be able to pick out why I think it sucked, but like you're sitting there and you're like, this kind of sucks. And that's kind of how I rate a movie. I'm sitting there and I'm like, this movie's around a 75 for me. And then I'll just go look at movies and then
I think that's a better way to do it, because I used to like try and do it where like I'd add up scores, you know, for like pacing. When I first started watching pacing, cinematography and stuff, and I think like when you start doing it at that side of things, that's when you start enjoying movies less, because you're looking for things to judge it on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we can move on.
Well, yeah.
It's 20 for me. Sorry, 21 actually.
What is? Okay. Oh, Avatar with Avatar. The MCU film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So before we wrap up Avatar talk, I kind of want to talk like where we think it could go from here. So I'm gonna give you guys 3 options for what like the next villain could be or where the story goes, and I want you to Tell me where you guys want to go. First one I think no one agrees on is the Colonel to be like the Darth Vader big bad that we just continue seeing. Second option, another sky person that's like a bigger, more badder sky person or a bigger army. Or third option, because at the end of the Avatar we saw like, you know, Jake Sully and his family was like, you know what, we've like fucked up your guys' world, we're gonna leave, or like leave like the water people, and they're like, you know what, no, we're in this together, we're sticking together, we're sticking through with you. Would we want like a different species on Pandora that comes that's even more powerful, that's like, you know what, fuck you guys, both of you guys are bringing so much conflict here, we're just gonna end you for ourselves? Would you rather have it be sky people full out war versus full out all of Pandora banding together? Or would you rather have an inner Pandora like civil war?
I think we all might be on the same page.
I'm so done with the sky people in my personal opinion. Yeah, I want an Avatar v Avatar fight, and we saw like these Avatars. They like it's like people in the world now. You know, like these Avatars are from this different place. They don't like someone else. You know, it's. I would so much rather have Avatar v Avatar. That being said, also, sorry, I have a follow up question, but I'll give everyone everyone can answer.
Yeah, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I think George. I don't know if he heard it, but I think he'll be on the same page as well. I don't
didn't
really
hear
care
the question.
I'll repeat it after Seth.
I don't really care about the sky people anymore. I'm not really bothered. I think having that kind of integration of two species of Avatar or whatever, them kind of fighting over things. I mean, I'd echo Cam's thoughts completely. I think that would be the better way to go, to be honest, definitely.
Yeah, George. So the question is, would you rather have for the remaining conflict to be like not necessarily the Colonel, but a more bigger scale war between sky people and all the people of Pandora? Would you rather have a totally different Avatar species on Pandora be introduced that is like, you know what, like I know you guys are all kumbaya over there, but all of us over here are fucking pissed at you all for keeping on fucking up Pandora. We're gonna end you ourselves. So like different species within Pandora fighting, or would you rather have all of Pandora fighting versus all of sky people?
Well, I mean, I think it's annoying that we kind of already know the answer because James Cameron has gone on record saying that the future Avatar movies will most likely come down to Earth. So I think the conflict between Avatars and humans is going to continue. I'd much rather see Avatar on Avatar. I'd like exactly what you just said, where it's like, okay, Jake Sully's just mere presence on Pandora is really dogging the shit out of us. Like, we gotta turn into a little civil war right now. If you care about why I just got up, I just heard a massive bang outside my apartment, like to the point where it sounded like someone died. Just need to go and check that nothing in my apartment fell, but someone had to have just gotten injured for sure.
I hope everyone's all right.
God, I just like jumped, like my heart. I was like, "What the fuck was that?"
Does that? I know your apartment was on the cheaper end, but does that have a lock at least?
Yes.
Okay. So you're fine. Hopefully, if we see George get dragged down,
I didn't realize you were being sarcastic. It said cheaper end. I was like, what?
Well, for New York City, like anything.
For New York,
it is. Yeah.
Anything under $10K a month is a steal in New York City.
Steal.
Okay, so wrapping up Avatar talk. So we're filming this a day early, so it's on Saturday, so box office hasn't come out yet. I've seen projections from 150 million to 550 million. Like it's on the lowest end, highest end. But I'll just give you a little nugget because when you're watching this Monday morning, you can see what the opening weekend was. For people that are anti-Avatar, hoping it doesn't make much money, China's COVID restrictions, like this is based off articles I've been reading. China's COVID restrictions like just got lifted, but it's still very much like, and China's like easily like one of the biggest markets, maybe the biggest market for movie watching. So their COVID restrictions might damper. Also, another thing that might lower box office sales is one thing that was like kind of just interesting from just like a business perspective is IMAX showings across America are like completely full, sold out, or like hard to get tickets to, whereas regular showings aren't so much. So people are theorizing like people are just going to wait for future weeks and see it in IMAX rather than just seeing it on a normal screen because IMAX screenings are in major cities basically impossible to get into. And then people on the pro Avatar making money side can say that Titanic didn't have amazing opening weekend. Avatar 1 didn't have amazing opening weekend. But what we've seen time and time again from pretty much every James Cameron film is it has staying power in the box office more than any other movie.
I think this escalates over time. This is going to be in theaters for a while.
Yeah.
This is going to be ones that we should mention we're recording this on the Saturday. So there might be something that we obviously usually record on a Sunday.
You'll already know what the results for Monday. But there will be staying power to this. And kind of like what I also tweeted is like people that are more our age might not understand. But like my dad and my friends' dads, don't give a fuck about the MCU, but they're all talking about Avatar. So like I think people our age sometimes get like narrow scoped. That like people my dad and their age, they're all going to the theater to see Avatar, but they couldn't name literally 2 Avengers. Like they don't give a fuck about those movies, don't know about those movies. So the demographics are way more broad for this. So and that's just a typical demographic of people that aren't like rushing to opening weekends. They're like, oh, Avatar's in theaters, like I'll see it. I don't know, we'll go in a couple weeks, but we'll end Avatar talk there. Feel like we did the proper justice on it and went into it pretty in depth. But again, for a lot of people, this was the big movie of the year, and a lot of people just go to 1 or 2 movies a year. This will be one of those movies that they're going to see this year.